Welcome back to Moon Talks with Dad. Today, I want to talk about how we lose our way as we get older. When we're young, the world is wide and full of possibilities. But as adults, we tend to narrow our focus until we only see the most obvious, literal version of reality. Take a look at this drawing. If you show this to almost any grown-up, they'll tell you exactly what it is without a second thought. To them, it's a hat. A plain, stiff, brown hat. But the drawing isn't about fashion. It's actually a picture of a giant boa constrictor with an elephant inside it, slowly being digested. The adults weren't looking at the drawing. They were looking at their own expectations. To see that elephant, you have to be willing to look past what's right in front of you. You have to trade the rigid logic of adulthood for the open, curious eyes of a child who hasn't been told what the world is supposed to look like yet. Our narrator is a pilot who has spent his life trying to fit into that adult world. He's flying over the Sahara Desert when his plane fails, leaving him stranded on the sand, miles from any other human, with only a few days of water left. He is terrified and desperate. He treats his engine like a giant broken metal clockwork lung that he must force back to life. He's obsessed with the technical details of the repair because, to an adult, survival is a matter of mechanics and math. Then, in the middle of this life-or-death crisis, a small boy with golden hair appears. He doesn't ask about the crash or the water. He simply looks at the exhausted pilot and asks him to draw a sheep inside a box. This request stops the pilot's mechanical work entirely. He's forced to put down his tools and engage with a boy who thinks a drawing of a box is just as important as a broken airplane engine. As they talk, the pilot learns the boy comes from a planet no bigger than a house. It's so small that the little prince can watch 43 sunsets in a single day, just by sliding his chair a few inches along the curve of the ground. But even a tiny planet has giant problems. Every morning, the boy has to pull up the tiny sprouts of baobab trees. If he misses even one, it will grow as large as these massive trunks, and its roots will eventually tear his small home into pieces. He also has a rose, a beautiful, vain flower with 4 useless thorns. He spent his days watering her, and his nights protecting her under a glass jar. But she was proud and difficult, and her grumpy words eventually drove him to leave her behind. The prince realized too late that he shouldn't have listened to her angry complaints. He should have judged her by her actions, the way she filled his planet with her perfume and her beauty. He was too young to know how to look past her thorns and see the warmth she was trying to show him. On his journey to Earth, the prince visited other planets. On one, he met a businessman who sat all day counting the stars, claiming he owned 500 million of them. The businessman thought he was rich because he had the numbers written down on a piece of paper in a drawer. The prince found this silly. On his planet, he owned his volcanoes and his flower because he cared for them and made their lives better. To the prince, the businessman wasn't really a man at all. He was just a mushroom, repeating numbers without actually connecting to the beauty of the stars he claimed to own. When the prince finally reached Earth, he found a garden with thousands of roses. He was devastated. He thought his rose was unique, but here were 5,000 others just like her. He felt small and ordinary. That's when he met a fox. The prince asked to play, but the fox told him they couldn't play together until they were tamed. To the fox, the prince was just one of 100,000 boys, and to the prince, the fox was just one of 100,000 foxes. They spent days sitting near each other, getting closer and closer, until they established ties. They became special to each other. Suddenly, the golden wheat fields reminded the fox of the boy's golden hair, and the world felt different because of their connection. Before the boy left, the fox shared a secret. You can only see correctly with your heart. The things that truly matter, friendship, love, meaning, aren't things you can see with your eyes. The prince looked back at the 5,000 roses and realized they were empty. His rose at home was more important than all of them combined because she was the one he had watered, the one he had listened to, and the one he had promised to protect. It's now the 8th day in the desert, and the pilot's water is gone. As he and the prince walk across the endless dunes under the stars, the pilot is exhausted and thirsty. The The prince looks at the vast, dry sand and says it's beautiful because it hides a well somewhere. The pilot realizes the boy is right. The desert's beauty doesn't come from the sand we can see, but from the hope of what's hidden beneath it. They walk through the night until they find an old well at sunrise. The pilot pulls the heavy rope, and the water comes up cold and clear. That water tastes like a feast. It isn't just about quenching thirst. It tastes like the long walk under the stars, the weight of the rope in the pilot's hands, and the shared effort of two friends finding something precious together. The prince knows it is time to go back to his rose. He explains to the pilot that his body is too heavy for the journey across the stars. He has to leave it behind, like an old shell. He meets a yellow snake in the sand. With a flash of gold at his ankle, the boy falls as gently as a tree falls. There is no sound because he falls on the soft desert sand. The pilot eventually fixes his plane and returns home, but he is a different man now. When he looks at the sky, he doesn't just see distant points of light or objects for navigation. He hears the stars, because he knows the little prince is on one of them, laughing. The entire night sky sounds like 500 million little silver bells. So look around your own life today. Are you counting the things you own? Or are you looking for the beauty hidden beneath the surface? Remember what the fox said, look with your heart. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Moon Talks with Dad.